Welcome back to the channel. All right, the details for Dani Moonstar's buff are now live. I'm allowed to show them to you. They've been on the CCP server. I've been able to test them quite a bit. And I'm going to start off with three main points. One is I already think Dani's a very good champion. You see my rated tier list and things. You see where we have her rated. She can do some things. I've talked about her at length. She was my first ranked 3 7-star champion. And I then was able to awaken her on the Titan Day. So, I think she's good, even if nothing had happened. Two, I do think this buff will help her in some of her ideal matchups. I think that's very nice, and I'm going to show you why right away. I'm just going to show the abilities. Three, I'm going to ask for more. I'm going to ask for more, and not in a to make her unbeatable, dominant, the next Doctor Doom, but I think there's still some relatively simple things that could be added that make her more capable meeting her goals, right? Like we hear that a lot when they talk about whether they're going to nerf a champion, buff a champion, and leave them alone, is what were their goals? And I feel like Dani's goals were very well set out, is that there's a relatively rigid loop. But if you do that rigid loop, the SP1 into the SP2, and you get your neural arrows and your prowess buffs, and you line that up with the falter, you get a massive payout. And along the way, she has this slow off of her SP1 that is a passive, which is really powerful. And so I think there are some things that can be added to help her with that loop. I will show you these. I will talk about these. And then at the end of this video, I will show you a fight against Nick Fury that I took in off-season war that shows you exactly why this first change, I think right away, is big. Okay, this is really, really big. This is what I was talking about. And it's right here when it comes down to the neural arrows. This is the last bullet point. Against skill champions, neural shocks are inflicted on special activation. So this is only going to be against skill champions. And the neural shocks are going to be inflicted right away. This will essentially help her out when you have her awakened and preventing Nick Fury from going to his second life. Like I said, I will show you this at the end of the video in a fight on the live server, okay? And then the other thing, we're going to examine this here too, is off the SP1 is this slow. They've increased the duration to 22 seconds. In my opinion, that is not nearly long enough. And I'm going to show that to you right now. So we're going to take a look at the SP1 slow, and if we're able to then get to the SP2, and then I will finish the fight regardless of how it goes. And you can see the neuroshocks go on at the beginning of the special 2 because Kingpin is a skill champion. Now, again, no smoke and mirrors here, right? If I had her at a higher sig, more of her neuroshocks would be turned into passive when Kingpin shrugs them. But, a 7-star rank 3 champion should be doing some pretty massive damage. I'm pretty sure I showed this to you in the rank 3 showcase regardless. So we're good to go here. I think this is a nice setup. And because I'm really trying to show the slow, I am going to very intentionally get as close to my special 2 as I possibly can. And let's land this. All right, it's go time. My whole focus here is to try to show you guys the duration of the slow. I can see it ticking down. I'm not enjoying that. But we need to build up. This Kingpin is playing ball very nicely. This is the kindest Kingpin I have maybe ever seen. And we do it. We get it. We had a very, very kind Kingpin. That was a nice Kingpin. I think he knew he was in video form. And we still barely had the slow. The slow barely stayed in. And like I said, I've played this buff a lot. And I just happen to be recording now and just transparency, this is like my 4th take on this recording. This is the first time I've gotten it so that the slow was still on during the second, and I didn't even pay attention to see if the slow stayed on throughout the duration of the SP2. You also got to see the neuroshocks go on at the beginning, so this has been a Nick Fury. That first hit of the SP2 kills him. He then goes into a second life, shrugging the active neuroshocks, and they turn into passives. Skill champions can't heal when they have these neuroshocks on. Now, so some of you are saying, like, see, it's possible. But what I want to point out is, and I'm going to use this clip because I do want to be transparent, is it is possible, as you just saw. But I want to point out a couple of things. This is not an evade champion. I didn't have to sit there and parry and make sure I only hit them while they were stunned and things like that along the way to get up to the SP1. Really wasn't going unstoppable unless I got him to the special 2. So I didn't have to worry about that. There was no nodes causing him to evade or go unstoppable. It's just Kingpin. There was nothing I had to work against. So with an AI that was playing very much into my hands, doing exactly what I wanted him to do, and there was no node or true defender interaction causing delays, I still barely made it. barely made it. So here's what I want to show you now is we're going to redo that fight. I would do this next Kingpin, but his AI is... You think the AI in BGs is bad? Check the AI on that Kingpin someday. It is. I can show you an hour, not an hour, a minute and 30 seconds of him just like literally going to the corner and hitting block and taunting me. It's a lot of fun. So now what we're going to look at is, let's say they look at my feedback, they look at my suggestions, they're like, Vega, dude, seriously, leave us alone. The duration on that slow is fine. It is fine. You showed it in your video. You got it to work, dude. What are you complaining about? All right, fine. So in that scenario, I think you really want to use her SP1. And you're going to use her SP1 over and over because you need to keep that slow refreshed. And you are going to use the neural arrows. So we're going to build up our neural arrows and we're going to continue to refresh our SP1. We're going to see how this damage is going to go. Now, again, her signature ability would help this a lot because when Kingpin shrugs them, she would turn them into passives. But let's just see like what this looks like, okay? What this looks like. So in this one, we're not too concerned with anything aside from getting our neural arrows up. Now, again, I think it's important to keep in mind, Kingpin is not evading. There's nothing going on that is making this harder. But here we go. So we've got our energy vulnerability. We've actually got quite a few of the neuros to stick. And you know what? I mean, that's ticking for 1,700. That's not bad. That is not terrible. We're not able to stack a ton of neural arrows because we need him to hit into us in order to create them. And we need, we need to be throwing this to keep up our slow. I want this to appear realistic. So the slow was helpful there. We've got our 5 neural arrows. Let's see how this goes. Got my 6-star Gambit relic, so that is nice. And you can kind of get a sense of this, right? I mean, like, this isn't terrible, but you know, and you know what? Let me. I will finish my thoughts after this fight because I do want to. I do want to give some clear thoughts on this, on why I don't feel like this is enough. So I know some folks might look at that and be like, that wasn't bad, man. That wasn't bad. And with the signature ability, it would be better. But again, remember, this is a 7-star rank 3 with a 6-star Gambit relic. And the reason why I don't think this is very good, the reason why I don't think this is good enough is, to me, Dani was built with the passive slow in mind, right? We often hear them talk about like the power budget of a champion, and it's very clear that she has a very rigid loop. And then when you hit the loop, when you get the SP1 and the SP2, and you line up the prowess and the energy vulnerability, and you do this all with a falter, and you get the 5 neural arrows, there's a lot to line up. When you do all of that, you get a very generous payout off the SP2, but it then also all completely goes away. It starts all over again. If you don't kill the opponent in that, you start over. And so she was given this passive slow, which is very, very powerful, but not allowing her to use it to get to her special 2 feels like she's paying a double price for it. Meaning she's paying the price in that her loop is rigid and there's so many things, there's very high skill asked to get there. And then additionally, she's not able to have the slow be long enough so that she can still get to her special 2, which was her whole loop to begin with. And she's stuck going special 1 over and over and over. And as you can see, the special 1 over and over and over isn't bad. It's not terrible. But it feels to me as if there was limitations put on her in that loop and that skill ask. I'm assuming based on the passive slow, because why have it there if it's not intended to help her? That's me. Let me know what you think. Like I said, I'm going to show you the fight against Nick Fury here, and you're going to see we're going to throw the special 2, and he's not going to die. And the whole reason is because the neuroshocks didn't apply at the beginning. They didn't apply till the end of the special, meaning a champion who is, some of the notes, even in the spotlight on the forums or on the MCoC website, talk about designed and help you with Nick Fury. And without this change, she was sometimes killing him too early. You were too good at the job. There's so many things to line up, and there's just one other thing. But with this one simple change, she will be significantly more efficient at taking out Nick Fury. And if that's the only change we get, I'm going to still be very happy with it. I'm going to be happy I took her to rank 3. I think she'll be a very good champion. But like I said, if they can provide a refresh for the slow or some way to extend it. And my buddy MP Blaze had a phenomenal idea. His idea was every time she causes a miss, you pause the slow. I think that would be phenomenal because I kept thinking of the traditional pauses being the knockdown or a combo ender. Both of those cause real problems for Dani and her loop because you're often going to need to parry in order to knock down, and she uses block in order to cause her falter and her miss, which could be a real problem. And the whole idea is to help her loop. And combo enders could be also a problem because she's often wanting to manipulate that with when she crosses over 10. So again, my ideas were not actually helping with her loop. I think Blaze came up with a perfect one, and there's also a skill ask, so it's not like it's just this free pause of her slow mechanic. So I think that's a fantastic idea. I hope they listen. I hope they feel like that's worthy of implementing. If they don't, I still think the buff is good, and I'll be very much looking forward to getting out some more rank 3 Dani footage when the buff does go live. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think on all this. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.